And it's the same with forward bends. Has anybody had any back pain coming from forward bends? Yeah, it's very common. Our body is super helpful. It lets us shower.
Yeah.
And it'll always try to make whatever action we're doing easier. You know, that's just the way it works. But often the way that we're doing something, because we do it repetitively, if we're doing the easier version, usually that's like a more collapsed version, or, you know, a dirty version. And if we do it that way again and again, then problems show up, pain shows up. The thing is, if we're doing something like a forward bend, there's all sorts of different ways to do a forward bend, depending on what you're coming with to the practice. So, you know, if I tell the room to do a forward bend, some of you are going to do a forward bend here, and some of you are going to do a forward bend like this. They're both forward bends, right? But they're sort of different according to what's going on in your body. And there can be problems with both of those versions. What would be limiting me in a forward bend if my forward bend looks like this? Any idea? Hamstrings? Boobs? Is that what you said?
Low back.
Low back, yeah. Yeah, hips, for sure. Lower back, yeah. I think hamstrings is probably, usually is the culprit here. And do you know why? What the hamstrings are doing that might be creating this shape?
Pulling the tailbone down.
Yeah. I'm locked into a pelvic tilt where the bottom of the pelvis is coming down, the top of the pelvis is coming back. And so as I go forward, the pelvis isn't moving. Now, if the cue in the practice, say I'm doing Paschimottanasana A, and the cue is to grab the toes, then if I'm stuck here in my pelvis, I'm either going to, if I'm going to catch the toes, it's got to come from somewhere. So it might come from my back rounding, or it could come from my upper back and my shoulders collapsing here. Usually it'll do both, right? Oh, kind of come here. And that's my body's just trying to help me. I told my body, the little me inside my head, said, "Body, catch your big toes." And then my body said, "Well, I don't know. My hamstrings are pretty tight. The pelvis is tucked under. I'm going to have to really round the back and then really collapse the shoulders to grab the toes." There, done. And then I say, "Body, head down on the knees, head down on the legs." So there's problems with that shape. You know, your spine has little discs between each of the vertebrae, and the discs are cushions, and they keep the vertebrae from pushing into each other and from impinging on the nerves that run through the center of the spine. And those little cushions, they're very durable, but if you put too much pressure on them, they will bulge out and eventually herniate.
Like a jelly donut.
Yeah, like you squish a jelly donut, it'll come out the side. So I'm putting a lot of pressure on the front of my spine here when I'm doing this, because all the vertebrae are collapsing, pushing onto the discs. If I do that once or twice, I just did it now. I didn't bulge a disc or herniate a disc, I hope. But you know, if I keep practicing that, I'm going to get really good at it, right? I'm going to get good at squishing the front of the disc of the spine. My body eventually is going to go, okay, well, if you keep practicing, that's what you want to do, I'll help you. And I'm going to bulge the disc out, and I'm going to get pain, nerve pain. It's just what I'm practicing, right? I'm practicing a round back and pressure on the front of the spine. So I don't want the back to round this way. And the two ways that I can stop my back from rounding that way, well, there's a few ways, but one way is not to let my lower back round. And so Uddiyana Bandha, Uddiyana means lifting up block. And it's the lower abdominal lock, transverse abdominis, these muscles that run laterally. When they pull in, they create kind of a corset around the waist. You know those like movers or weightlifters? They have those
belts.
Yeah, those belts. They give support to the back, right? And they don't let the back really bend very much. It's that kind of support that we're creating with the bandhas. So then we can't collapse down. You'd think, when you round your back that you're really lifting Uddiyana Bandha, but that's not the case. When you round your back, usually you're collapsing in your belly. It's falling down towards your legs. If you try it, it's very hard actually to pull your navel in with your back round. It's when your back is straight, that's when you can really get that engagement.
And when your shoulders are in the sockets.
And the same thing for the upper back as well. So if I'm holding myself here nice and strong, I'm going to come up against the limit of my hamstrings. There's a reason I have to round the back, because the hamstrings are short. So then I'm holding myself, I'm not going to round here, so then I'm going to make the work come from somewhere else. It's going to come from my upper back. We were talking yesterday a little bit about, keeping the shoulder on the body. So when I take my arms off my shoulders off my back like this and I let them come forward, I'm doing a couple of things. One is I'm rounding the upper back. Same problem, right? I'm creating more of a curve in the upper back. Eventually that could be a problem. I'm also collapsing the chest. I'm bringing the shoulders together like this, and I can start to create some problems in the fronts of the shoulders here. Usually if I'm doing this once, I'm doing it all the time, letting the shoulders come forward. So I need to also contain the shoulders. I need to contain the lower abdomen, and I need to contain the shoulders. But again, if I was doing all those things, there was a reason. It was because I couldn't reach the toes unless I did that. So what's my option?
Don't go as deep.
Don't go as deep. That's when I could stay here.
Or bend
It's
knees.
very it's discouraging, right? You're like looking at a reel to the forward bend.
Flopped over the leg.
Sometimes people are so tight in the hamstrings or their pelvis is tilted under that they're actually back. It's even hard to sit up straight in a sitting position like this. So, so what's the option? I think bend the knees probably. Bend the knees. Try to maintain that same work. Bandhas in, shoulders back, catch the toes. And from here, you would start to work your legs down. Trying to maintain all that work in the rest of the body. Knees and feet together. The idea is that we're stretching our hamstrings. That's where we want to feel the main stretch. We don't want to feel like we're stretching our kidneys, right? There's no kidney stretch in the practice. We want to feel all the work come here. So if you're tight and you need to do that, you need to bend the knees and catch the toes, you'll probably feel it still quite a bit in the hamstrings as you work from here.